The harsh white light of the diplomatic chamber aboard the Vigilant cast stark shadows across Ambassador Karen Phillips' face as she stared across the obsidian table at the three alien representatives. The Earth Orbit Station, once a symbol of peaceful cooperation, now hung in the void like a fragile bubble of calm before a storm. Karen felt the weight of 7 billion lives on her shoulders as she maintained her professional demeanor. War Prime Zethor of the Andromean Coalition sat directly across from her, his crimson scales gleaming under the artificial light. His 4 eyes, each a different shade of yellow, seemed to pierce through her diplomatic facade. To his left, Admiral Velena's serpentine neck swayed slightly as she tapped her elongated fingers against the table's surface, the gesture both elegant and threatening. General Mordak, the bulkiest of the three, remained utterly still, his stone-like gray skin showing no hint of emotion. Captain Jake Morrison stood at attention behind Karen's chair, his military posture perfect, but his eyes constantly scanning the room for threats. His hand never strayed far from his ceremonial sidearm, ceremonial in appearance only, as Karen well knew. "Ambassador Phillips," War Prime Zethor's voice rumbled through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "We have reviewed your proposals." The pause was deliberate, designed to show contempt. "The Coalition finds them inadequate." Karen maintained her composure. "The Earth Federation has offered generous trade terms, cultural exchange programs, and shared access to the Jupiter mining colonies. Our proposals represent significant concessions." Admiral Velena's laugh was like glass breaking. "Concessions? You offer trinkets while hoarding the true wealth of your system." "We've been transparent about our resources and capabilities," Karen replied evenly. "All planetary surveys have been shared with your scientists." "Transparency." General Mordak spoke for the first time, the word sounding like gravel in his throat. "An interesting concept from a species that hides behind diplomatic pleasantries, while refusing to acknowledge the reality of their position." Captain Morrison shifted slightly behind Karen. She could feel his tension without looking back. "And what reality is that, General?" Karen asked. War Prime Zethor leaned forward, his massive frame casting a longer shadow across the table. "The reality, Ambassador, is that your world is alone, isolated, and woefully unprepared for the greater galactic community. The Coalition comprises 17 spacefaring civilizations. Our combined fleets number in the thousands. Your defenses are primitive by comparison." Karen felt a chill, despite the chamber's controlled temperature. "We've never claimed military superiority. War Prime. Earth seeks peaceful cooperation, not conflict." "Peace." Admiral Velena's neck extended slightly, her face moving closer to Karen's. "Is a luxury afforded to those with strength, or those who accept protection from the strong?" "The Coalition's patience has limits," Zethor continued. "We have spent 3 of your Earth years in these negotiations, while your planet continues to develop technologies that could destabilize established galactic protocols." Karen met his gaze steadily. "We have the right to develop our civilization as we see fit within our own system." "Rights," General Mordak rumbled, "are recognized only when backed by power." War Prime Zethor placed a data crystal on the table. It projected a holographic ultimatum in both Coalition script and English. "The Coalition's terms are simple," Zethor said. "Earth will submit to Coalition oversight. Your military capabilities will be limited to system defense only, under our supervision. Your technological development will proceed only with Coalition approval. Your resources will be shared according to Coalition quotas." Karen read the terms with growing disbelief. "This isn't a negotiation. It's a demand for surrender." "Call it what you will," Admiral Velena said. "We are merely recognizing the inevitable. You have 72 hours to secure your government's agreement," Zethor stated. "After that time, the Coalition will take necessary measures to ensure Earth's compliance." Karen stood slowly, her chair sliding back without a sound. Captain Morrison moved to her side instantly. War Prime Zethor, Admiral Valena, General Mordak. Karen's voice was clear and unwavering. I will convey your proposal to Earth's leadership. But I can tell you now that Earth does not respond well to threats. We will not surrender our sovereignty, our resources, or our future to any power, no matter how many worlds it claims to represent. Zethor's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair remained fixed on Karen. You mistake our patience for weakness, Ambassador, a common error among emerging species. Perhaps you mistake our restraint for vulnerability, Karen replied. A common error among empires that have forgotten what it means to fight for survival. As Karen turned to leave, she made a subtle gesture to Captain Morrison, 3 fingers pressed against her thigh. The captain's eyes widened, almost imperceptibly, but he maintained his professional demeanor. The gesture was simple, unnoticeable to their alien counterparts, but its meaning was profound. The mask falls. Back on Earth, deep within the secure chambers of the Global Defense Council, President Blake received the encoded message from the Vigilant. His weathered face showed no surprise as he turned to the assembled military and scientific leadership. It seems diplomacy has reached its predictable conclusion, he said quietly. Activate Protocol 7. Admiral Jennifer Stone, commander of Earth's Defense Forces, nodded once and placed her palm on the biometric scanner. Authentication Stone, Jennifer A., Admiral, Authorization Omega 7 Delta. The room's lighting shifted to a deep blue as confirmation codes flashed across multiple screens. Protocol 7 activated, the system announced. All units standing by. President Blake looked at the tactical display showing Earth, the Moon, Mars, and the asteroid belt. Ambassador Phillips has bought us the time we needed. Now we show the Coalition what humanity is truly capable of when cornered. On the far side of the Moon, in areas officially designated as scientific outposts, massive bay doors that had never been detected by Coalition observation ships began to slide open. Within the cavernous lunar hangars, thousands of sleek warships, each bearing the insignia of Earth's defense forces, powered up their systems after years of dormancy. Dr. Kate Sullivan, chief engineer of the Luna project, watched from the command center as the first wave of ships emerged from their concealment. Fleet activation at 97%, she reported. All systems nominal. In the asteroid belt, structures that Coalition surveys had classified as mining stations began to transform. Armored panels slid away, revealing weapon arrays, propulsion systems, far more advanced than anything Earth had publicly demonstrated, ignited as the stations reoriented themselves from industrial platforms into heavily armed battleships. On Mars, the simple protective domes covering human settlements shimmered and then seemed to dissolve, revealing elaborate defense grids and launch platforms for aerospace fighters. Weapons that had been disguised as atmospheric processors and radiation shields powered up, their targeting systems acquiring the positions of Coalition observation vessels. Aboard the Vigilant, Captain Morrison received the confirmation code on his secure neural link. He leaned close to Ambassador Phillips as they walked back to the Earth delegation's quarters. It's begun, he whispered. Karen nodded once, her expression unchanged. How long until the Coalition realizes? Minutes, maybe less. Their observation ships will detect the lunar fleet first. Karen felt a momentary pang of regret. Years of diplomacy, all a charade. A necessary one, Morrison replied. We needed time to complete the preparations. I know, Karen said softly, but I genuinely hoped we might find another way. They gave us no choice, Morrison's voice hardened. Their kind never does. In the Coalition command vessel orbiting Venus, Supreme Commander Drax received the first alarming reports from his observation ships. Impossible, he growled at the sensor officer. Verify these readings immediately. Already verified, Supreme Commander, the officer replied, mandibles clicking nervously. Human activity detected on the lunar dark side. Massive energy signatures consistent with military-grade propulsion and weapon systems. "How many vessels?" Drax demanded. "Initial count exceeds 700, sir, and more appearing." Drax slammed his armored fist against his command chair. 700? Their entire reported fleet consists of only 68 ships. On his main view screen, the tactical display updated to show new threats emerging throughout the solar system. The asteroid belt was coming alive with weapons platforms. Mars, supposedly a simple colonial outpost, was revealing defense systems that rivaled those of established coalition worlds. "We've been deceived," Drax snarled. "Contact War Prime Zethor immediately. The humans have violated every protocol of disclosure. This justifies immediate military response." But the communication never reached the diplomatic vessel. Throughout the solar system, Earth's quantum communications network, another technology kept hidden from coalition knowledge, came online, creating an impenetrable blanket of signal disruption that affected only non-human communication frequencies. War Prime Zethor grew increasingly agitated as communications with the coalition fleet failed repeatedly. "What is happening?" he demanded of his technical specialist. "Unknown. War Prime," the specialist replied. "All frequencies are experiencing interference. We cannot reach the fleet or command." Admiral Velena's neck extended to its full height, her head swiveling toward the viewport where Earth hung in the distance. "The humans," she hissed. "This is their doing." General Mordak moved to the tactical station. "Activate emergency protocols. Prepare for immediate." His words were cut short as the ship's sensors wailed in alarm. On their displays, hundreds of Earth vessels were emerging from concealment, their formation suggesting not panic or hastily assembled defense, but a carefully coordinated military operation, years in the planning. Aboard the EDF, Vigilant, now revealed as not merely a diplomatic vessel, but one of Earth's most advanced command ships. Captain Morrison received tactical control from Earth Command. "Ambassador," he said formally to Karen, "I am now acting under military authority. Please proceed to the secure diplomatic quarters." Karen nodded, understanding the protocol they had rehearsed countless times. "Good hunting, Captain." As she departed, Morrison turned to his crew, all of whom had shed their diplomatic staff disguises and now manned battle stations in full military uniform. "Communications, broadcast on all coalition frequencies," Morrison ordered. "Use their encryption codes." "Channel open, sir." Morrison straightened his shoulders. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Forces. To all coalition vessels in the Sol system. You have entered sovereign human territory under false diplomatic pretenses, while positioning for military action. Your communications have been disabled. Your weapon systems are targeted. Any aggressive movement will be met with immediate and overwhelming force." Throughout the system, coalition ships received the transmission with growing alarm. Many immediately attempted to power weapons, only to discover that Earth's quantum disruptors, yet another technology kept hidden, had already compromised their targeting systems. In the asteroid belt, the first engagement began when a coalition scout vessel attempted to flee toward the system's edge. Earth's disguised battle platforms fired precision weapons that disabled the scout's engines without destroying the vessel. Similar scenarios played out near Mars and in Earth orbit as coalition ships found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by forces they hadn't known existed. Supreme Commander Drax watched in mounting horror as his tactical display showed coalition ships being systematically neutralized throughout the system. "Launch all fighters," he ordered. "Signal the reserve fleet to enter the system." 1,000 coalition fighters streamed from their carrier vessels, forming attack wings aimed at the human forces. For a moment, it seemed the tide might turn, until the fighters encountered squadrons of Earth aerospace craft, led by Commander Frank Mitchell's elite Wolfpack squadron. The human fighters were smaller, but dramatically more maneuverable. employing technologies that the Coalition had believed decades beyond Earth's capabilities. Mitchell's squadrons executed precision attack patterns that divided and isolated the Coalition wings before systematically disabling them. Wolfpack, actual to all squadrons. Mitchell's calm voice carried across the tactical network. Remember your training. Non-lethal disabling shots when possible. We want prisoners, not martyrs. In orbit around the Moon, Dr. Kate Sullivan monitored the effectiveness of Earth's hidden fleet as it emerged fully from the lunar hangars. Thousands of warships, from nimble corvettes to massive dreadnoughts, formed a defensive sphere around Earth, while specialized strike teams moved toward the Coalition's command vessels. "Luna, command to Earth defense," Sullivan reported. "Fleet deployment complete. All systems operating at optimal capacity." In a secure laboratory beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, Dr. Alex Thompson and Dr. Rachel Green coordinated the final calibrations of Earth's most closely guarded weapon system. "Quantum disruptor grid at full power," Thompson announced, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Target acquisition complete. Disruptor synchronization at 100%, Green confirmed. "Ready on your command." Admiral Stone's voice came through the secure channel from Earth. "You are authorized to proceed with Phase 3. Selective targets only." Thompson nodded to Green. "Initiating quantum displacement in 3, 2, 1. Throughout the solar system, selected Coalition capital ships, those identified as carrying the heaviest weapons or commanding the largest fighter groups, simply vanished. The quantum disruptors didn't destroy the vessels. They shifted them microscopically out of phase with normal space-time, effectively removing them from the battle without harming their crews. To Coalition observers, it appeared as though Earth possessed technology capable of erasing ships from existence, a terrifying display of power that broke the morale of many remaining Coalition commanders. Aboard his flagship, Supreme Commander Drax watched in disbelief as his most powerful vessels disappeared from tactical displays. "What's happening?" he roared. "Where are they going?" His science officer, trembling visibly, could only shake his head. "Unknown, Supreme Commander. No energy readings consistent with known weapons. They're just gone." "Impossible!" Drax snarled. "No species possesses such technology." A communication officer turned from his station. "Supreme Commander, we're receiving reports from throughout the system. All Coalition forces are being systematically neutralized or displaced. Our remaining vessels are requesting permission to surrender." Drax's forearms clenched in fury. "Surrender? To a single world of primitives? Never!" But even as he spoke, his flagship shuddered as precision strikes from Earth vessels disabled its primary systems. On his view screen, he watched as human ships surrounded his vessel in perfect formation, their weapons locked on vital systems. Captain Morrison's voice came through on all frequencies. "Supreme Commander Drax, your fleet is defeated. Your options are surrender or annihilation. Choose wisely." Drax looked around his bridge, seeing the fear in his officer's eyes. With bitter resignation, he gave the order that no Coalition commander had issued in over 300 years. "Lower shields, power down weapons, signal our surrender." Throughout the solar system, the remaining Coalition vessels followed suit, powering down systems and accepting boarding parties from Earth's defense forces. On the diplomatic vessel, War Prime Zethor, Admiral Valina, and General Mordak found themselves confined to their quarters. Their status suddenly changed from honored envoys to prisoners of war. Admiral Valina paced the chamber like a caged predator. How could this happen? Their technological level was assessed at barely Class 3. They shouldn't have quantum communications, phase displacement, or energy shielding of this caliber. "They deceived us," Mordak rumbled. "For years, every diplomatic exchange, every scientific mission, all designed to conceal their true capabilities." Zethor remained silent, staring at the image of Earth visible through their viewport. Finally, he spoke quietly. We underestimated them. A species that rose from primitive agriculture to space travel in less than 10,000 years. We should have recognized what that rate of advancement truly signified. What happens now? Velena asked. Now, Zethor said grimly, we discover whether humans are as merciful as they've claimed to be. In the aftermath of what would later be called the 3-Hour War, Earth's forces systematically secured coalition vessels throughout the solar system. The quantum-displaced ships were gradually phased back into normal space-time, their confused crews finding themselves surrounded by Earth vessels with weapons trained on them. Aboard the EDF Constitution, the massive flagship of Earth's fleet that had remained hidden within the lunar hangars until the conflict began, Admiral Jennifer Stone, President Blake, and Ambassador Phillips prepared to meet with the captured coalition leadership. How many casualties? President Blake asked quietly as they walked toward the meeting chamber. 17 Earth defense personnel, Admiral Stone reported. All from systems failures or accidents during deployment. No combat fatalities. And the coalition? 39 fatalities, all from ships that attempted to self-destruct rather than surrender. We managed to evacuate most crews before detonation. Blake nodded solemnly. 49 lives. A miracle by any standard of warfare. But still, 49 too many. Ambassador Phillips, now dressed in the formal diplomatic uniform of the Earth Federation, rather than the more conciliatory attire she had worn during the previous negotiations, steeled herself for what was to come. The coalition representatives are waiting, she said. They've been informed that they are now negotiating surrender terms, not peace agreements. And their response? Blake asked. Shock, primarily, Phillips replied, followed by the beginning stages of acceptance. They're a practical species, for all their arrogance. Once defeated, they adapt to new realities quickly. The meeting chamber of the Constitution was designed to impress. A vast, circular space with Earth visible through a transparent dome above. The coalition representatives were already seated at the lower positions of the tiered chamber when the Earth delegation entered. Supreme Commander Drax, War Prime Zethor, Admiral Velena, and General Mordak stood as protocol dictated, though their postures conveyed their humiliation. Be seated, President Blake said, taking the central position with Admiral Stone and Ambassador Phillips flanking him. The coalition acknowledges Earth's unexpected military supremacy. War Prime Zethor began, clearly having been selected as spokesman. We are prepared to discuss terms for withdrawal from your system. Withdrawal? Admiral Stone's voice was sharp. Your forces aren't withdrawing, War Prime. They're surrendering. There's a significant difference. Semantics, General Mordak rumbled. No, President Blake said firmly. Not semantics. Reality. Your fleet is disabled. Your communications are under our control. Your homeworlds are currently receiving doctored transmissions, suggesting your mission here is proceeding normally. They have no idea that the mighty coalition has been defeated by a single, primitive world. Admiral Velena's neck extended slightly in agitation. What are your terms? Ambassador Phillips activated a holographic display showing a comprehensive document. The Earth Federation's requirements are as follows. First, immediate recognition of Earth's sovereignty over the entire Sol system, including all planets, moons, asteroid fields, and cometary bodies. Agreed, Zethor said quickly. Second, reparations for the threatened aggression against Earth, to be paid in technology transfers and raw materials according to the schedule in Appendix A. Supreme Commander Drax studied the appendix and hissed in shock. This would cripple coalition economies for decades. Third, Phillips continued, as if he hadn't spoken. Formal recognition of humanity's status as a premier galactic power, with all attendant rights and privileges, including unrestricted development of technologies and military forces. Impossible, Mordak growled. No emerging species has ever been granted such status without centuries of probationary oversight. Fourth, Phillips pressed on, immediate release of all information regarding other spacefaring civilizations not currently part of the coalition, including those you've subjugated or those you've hidden from us. Admiral Valena's eyes narrowed. What makes you think such civilizations exist? We've intercepted enough of your secure communications over the years to know the coalition isn't the benevolent unifying force you've presented it to be. Admiral Stone replied coldly. How many worlds have you conquered? How many species have you driven to extinction because they refuse to submit? War Prime Zethor's scales darkened slightly, a sign of discomfort among his species. The coalition maintains galactic stability. Sometimes difficult choices must be made. Those days are over, President Blake stated flatly. At least in this sector of the galaxy. And if we refuse these terms? Drax challenged. Admiral Stone smiled without warmth. Then we'll deliver the record of your defeat to your homeworlds ourselves, along with a demonstration of our quantum displacement technology on several of your core world's defense platforms. Your government would not survive the humiliation, and you know it. A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the coalition representatives exchanged glances, communicating in the subtle body language of their respective species. Finally, War Prime Zethor spoke. We will need to consult with our respective governments. Of course, Ambassador Phillips said smoothly. We've prepared secure communication channels that will allow you to speak directly with your leaders. But be aware that we'll be monitoring these communications. Any attempt to distort the situation will result in immediate consequences. As the coalition representatives were escorted to the communication chambers, President Blake turned to Phillips and Stone. Will they agree? He asked quietly. They have no choice, Stone replied. We've broken not just their military power, but their foundational myth, that they represent the pinnacle of galactic civilization. The psychological blow is as devastating as the tactical one. And after they agree? Phillips asked. What then? Blake looked up at the Earth, rotating slowly in the viewport above. Then we remake the rules of galactic society, not through conquest as they did, but through liberation. There must be other worlds chafing under coalition dominance. We'll find them, free them, and build a new interstellar community based on actual cooperation, not forced submission. In the days that followed, coalition leadership had no choice but to accept Earth's terms. Their ships, now stripped of weapons but otherwise intact, were permitted to return to coalition space with the humiliating news of their defeat and the new status of humanity in galactic affairs. Earth's hidden technology and military forces were finally revealed to the public, triggering a complex mixture of reactions. Many celebrated the protection these secret preparations had provided. Others questioned the years of deception by their own government, even while acknowledging its necessity. Captain Morrison found Ambassador Phillips on the observation deck of the Vigilant, watching as Earth ships began dismantling the coalition observation posts that had long monitored their world. Quite a view, he said, joining her at the railing. The end of an era, she replied, and the beginning of something new. Having regrets? Morrison asked. Phillips considered the question carefully. About the deception? No. It was necessary. About the fact that it was necessary? Yes. I've spent my life believing in the power of honest diplomacy. Your diplomatic efforts weren't wasted, Morrison assured her. They gave us the time we needed. Without those years of negotiations, we wouldn't have completed the lunar fleet or the quantum disruptors. I know, she sighed, but I can't help wondering if there might have been another way. The coalition gave us no choice, Morrison reminded her. You heard them yourself. Submit or be conquered. Those were the only options they offered. And now we've given them the same ultimatum, Phillips observed. Doesn't that make us just like them? Morrison shook his head. No. We're offering liberation to the worlds they've conquered, not subjugation. There's a fundamental difference. Before Phillips could respond, her communication device chimed. She checked the message and smiled. "It seems I'm being reassigned," she said. "President Blake wants me to head up the new Galactic Diplomatic Corps." "Congratulations," Morrison said sincerely. "No one deserves it more." "And you?" "The Vigilant is being recommissioned as the flagship of Exploration Group Alpha. We'll be making first contact with the non-coalition worlds mentioned in the data they surrendered." Phillips raised an eyebrow. "And they assigned you to a diplomatic mission after what happened here?" Morrison laughed. "Apparently, the president thinks my direct approach might be useful if we encounter any more coalition-like entities. But don't worry, we'll have actual diplomats on board. I'm just there to look intimidating if necessary." Together, they watched as construction began on what would become Earth's first extrasolar gateway station, a massive structure that would eventually house the headquarters of both the Diplomatic Corps and the Defense Fleet. "Do you think they'll try again?" Phillips asked quietly. "The coalition?" "Eventually," Morrison admitted. "Empires don't surrender power easily. But by then, we'll have allies of our own, worlds grateful to be freed from coalition dominance. And we won't be hiding our strength anymore." Phillips nodded slowly. "I hope the galaxy is ready for humanity." "They'd better be," Morrison said with a hint of pride. "Because ready or not, here we come." 6 months later, Ambassador Karen Phillips stood on the bridge of the EDF Excalibur, the most advanced ship ever constructed by human hands. Around her, officers prepared for the vessel's maiden voyage to Proxima Centauri, where intelligence suggested a civilization recently conquered by the coalition awaited. Dr. Kate Sullivan, now Chief Engineer of the Interstellar Division, reported from her station. "All systems optimal, Ambassador. Quantum drive ready for activation on your command." Dr. Alex Thompson and Dr. Rachel Green, the architects of Earth's quantum technologies, monitored their specialized consoles with focused attention. "Displacement field stable," Thompson confirmed. "Navigation coordinates locked," Green added. Captain Jake Morrison, recently promoted and assigned as military commander of the mission, turned to Phillips with a smile. "Your call, Ambassador. The Excalibur awaits your command." Phillips took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. From a world threatened with subjugation to a power preparing to reshape galactic politics in just 6 short months. The cost had been high, not in lives, thankfully, but in innocence. Earth would never again be the hopeful, naive world it once was. But perhaps that was the inevitable price of growth. "Captain Morrison," she said formally, "take us to the stars. We have allies to meet and a galaxy to change." As the Excalibur engaged its quantum drive, disappearing from Earth orbit in a flash of precisely controlled energy, Phillips couldn't help but wonder what new challenges awaited humanity among the stars. Whatever came, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Earth would never again hide its strength or capabilities. The mask had fallen away forever, revealing not just humanity's power, but its determination to forge a different kind of galactic society, one built on genuine cooperation rather than dominance and fear. The coalition had warned Earth to surrender. Instead, humanity had struck back, not just to defend itself, but to offer something new to a galaxy long accustomed to rule by the powerful. Whether that offer would be accepted remained to be seen. But for the first time in centuries, the stars themselves held the promise of true change. And change, Phillips reflected as the vessel accelerated toward humanity's future, was long overdue.